All right. So,
Okay, order.
welcome back, everyone.
Thank you, Mark.
So the next session is just to go through the. So in front of you, you got it on your, you got it on LG Hub. You've also got hard copies of the draft consultation document. It's just the concept. So there's been a couple of comments. There've been a couple of comments in the break that you can't read it. So that's been done deliberately. It's got Latin. The Latin words are there as a placeholder. So we haven't fully worked up the wording behind all the bits and bobs. The consultation document is what you adopt. It's what you put out into the public domain, and it's in terms of legislation, it's the only thing that you can consult on in terms of the long-term plan. The supporting information will be on our website. So what we wanted to do is we just wanted to show you where we're at so far in terms of the design, the look, the feel, how it's set up. And we welcome feedback. But if you're alarmed that you can't read it and doesn't make sense, it's not finished. The page on the back for the feedback and ticking the boxes, it isn't there. I think to be here at this stage before Christmas with a consultation document that even looks like this is actually a good result. But because it's your document, we would like you to have the opportunity to look through it, and if there's anything that you really don't like or do like, we would welcome the feedback. One of the things that isn't in there that we discussed on Tuesday was just some graphics that we'll put in the financial strategy section that just says by activity. It'll show how is that activity funded, what's the private-public funding split, and what is the cost of that activity. So that was one of the messages that came loud and clear on Tuesday. That just a bit of information about what each activity costs. So we'll put that in the consultation document. I don't know. I'm going to hand over to Cheryl to run this section, but this is just to get your feedback on how it's looking. And yeah, please give us your thoughts. Thank you.
So why don't you just leave the Latin in there? Because
Okay.
as you're aware, that first phrase means there is no one who loves pain, who seeks after it, wants to have it simply because it is pain. And so I just leave that in there and just go, boom.
What page are we reading from?
Under our finances.
Did you translate it yourself? Did you translate it yourself?
No, you translate.
Kathy translated it.
I can tell you all how to do that automatically in Word if you would like. It's very cool. Equals lorem, open bracket, close bracket, press carriage return, and it gives you about that much Latin. There you go. Taught you something, hey?
I want to know what cross carriage is.
Enter.
So I quite taking it a little bit more seriously. I would like where it says welcome. I'd like it to say haere mai
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
rather than welcome.
Yep. Thank you.
I know some people won't be able to understand what we mean. But.
Yep. Just if I could.
Oh yes, it is.
Perhaps if we go through together, just page by page. So thank you for that. I think page number 5. Just wanted to land on page number 5. So we talked about the consultation topics. So we've got they probably won't be numbered because the numbering denotes importance. But there's 3 there. I just wanted to check that you're comfortable with that. That we haven't missed anything off. We talked a lot about the climate action rate, and we talked about a primary and a secondary consultation topic. So at the moment, because it's the climate action rate, so how we're designing it up is that the climate action rate isn't the big topic, but it's part of the rating system review that we consult on. That's further on in the document. Just wanted to get a steer. You're happy with page number 5 with those topics? It's consistent with what we talked about in the open briefing.
No, Lead
one
first.
question.
Sorry, Nigel.
Yeah, just when you say tell us what you think about the big issues, the issues aren't just big, they're hard. Like number one there about borrowing to pay for depreciation of water, like that's one of those actually unsolvable problems. There's no right or good answer.
The tricky issues?
Maybe, I mean, if you stick with big, I don't really care, but I was just thinking through, maybe we should signal that these questions actually, we can't solve them and nor can you know?
I think a disclaimer for the whole document is that so now we're going to start polishing the narrative and making sure that it really flows well and is understandable to everybody. So I think it's highly likely that some of these things like headings, some of the key words that we use will change. Like we will start getting really critical on ourselves to make sure that we're communicating really well. The aim is for a very cohesive, well-written, concise document. So, yeah, I think you're right about that word big, though. I think there's another word we could use there.
Some question marks on that page would be good somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're making statements and then saying,
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Great
even a big
feedback.
question mark on the top.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Nice. It can be changed. Anything's possible.
And there could be Snoopy there.
Hard to write on that.
Nigel?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
There was a time in New Zealand politics when think and big in the same sentence caused chaos. I just wondered too, yeah. So, say for instance, taking that first one, which is a really, really significant ticket item for ratepayers and for us, for everybody. So we can't expect the average punter out there to understand depreciation and, the issues around that. So presumably there will be an explainer in here somewhere. So inside the thought bubble or the speech, whatever it happens to be, we could have a character down there, smiley face of Darren, sort of like this is him doing the speech bubbles, or you, or somebody wants to model it. But perhaps a reference to in the document where there is an explainer, or to the Wikipedia page, or whatever it is. Because we're genuinely asking for feedback about complex issues. We should at least be able to give some kind of explainer about what our position is and why we're there. I know it's about getting balance and not, pushing it too much. But at least if we can explain the rationale behind these complex issues about where we're coming from.
Yeah. No. Thank you, Councillor. Look, that's great feedback. Depreciation, the word depreciation and uplift and depreciation, all that. That's kind of, I think, going back to Cheryl's point. So we need to simplify that language. So the increased cost of providing water, for example, and then when we're actually further on, when we get there, when we're actually in the issue of the double page spread, we absolutely have to explain it in simple terms. So to maybe stay away from the word depreciation if we do use it to explain it. So that's excellent feedback. Thank you. I really like Cheryl's wording. She calls it panel beating. So we've got a lot of panel beating to do. Yes, I guess this is kind of consistent with the words that we've been using in our briefings, but the consultation document under legislation must be simple and easy to understand by the general public. So the wonderful jargon of the accounting world needs to come out. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Number 2 says a dedicated provider for housing for older persons. We actually already are. What we're talking about is an equitable provider, perhaps.
Yeah,
Something
we
like
will
that.
come up with better wording for that. We noticed that and we're going to change it, but we were a bit too late.
So thank you. So then we go on to page. We'll do because it's kind of a double page spread. So 6 and 7 are sitting at the the council strategic vision. We've made a start on the design of page 7. We want it to be consistent with our top 10 priorities. So getting the top 10 priorities look and feel to then flow into a strategic vision. So we've just made a start on it. So there's more work to be done in that space. But the point here is this is the placeholder where we set out what the council strategic vision is for the next 10 years. What are the community outcomes and how we're going to achieve it? But it's in terms of the graphics, we've still got some fine tuning to do.
Can I ask, are people going to be viewing this document as hard copy or maybe online?
Both.
Both. Yeah.
Both. We will have copies printed, so they'll be presented as a stapled booklet, and we'll have, I don't know, I haven't worked out how many copies yet, but we will have stacks of copies in service centres, libraries, and if you good people would like copies to hand out to people, we will make that happen as well. So that's something I just haven't come to any conclusions on about the number. The last thing I want is stacks and stacks of these documents that I've got to then bin when we don't use them all. So we really need to think about, cost and use of resources when we go to print these. But
Not
yes,
too many
both.
glossy
And we are
brochures.
designing it. We're designing it so that it can be easily read online, easily read in a booklet style, and easily printed at home if people want to do that. Yeah, yeah.
I just had a question in relation to the graphics there.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the various well-beings, I understand the one in the middle with the angry mob marching towards council. Oh, sorry, page 7. Yeah.
Yep.
The dodgy handshake thing, I get that. But I don't understand that icon, the cultural well-being. I must have missed
Oh,
that class.
Okay. So we're going to go back and revisit that design because you've mistaken that icon to be related to cultural well-being, when in actual fact it's related to place, which is underneath it. Remember those, on when you use maps and you see that little pin drop?
Yep.
That's what that icon is. So you've misinterpreted that, so that means we're wrong here. We will change it.
We were just a starter for 10 was to weave the four well-beings into our our outcomes. Our outcomes of place, partnership, and people.
Yeah.
And so it clearly hasn't worked there.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the angry mob have just gone back to being a nudist colony then. Nobody's wearing any clothes. We're taking the shirts off your backs, says Cabinet Council. Here's a picture.
Okay,
So,
I don't have a microphone override here, unfortunately.
so, so we'll.
I'm going back.
are we?
Hang on. Jocelyn?
Yeah, because in relation to that, so you've got that diagram at the top, and then you've got the section underneath. And so if the intent is to link the two, that's good. If they're not meant to be linked, it looks to me as if they are because of the colour coding.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, look, I think everyone's really familiar with our top 10 priorities over the next 3 years, and that's framing
we
up
are.
our.
A lot of
No,
people
not
out there are
everyone.
not.
Not everyone
No, I don't. There's a lot of people who.
would have
Have
no
no
idea that
idea.
we've even got a top 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's easy for us to think when we're so close to
Yeah.
things that other people know about them too, but not everyone does.
I
So-
actually like that one page that we've got on honesty. Gives people detail, and and this is a high level. It's my. Yeah.
Is that the circle?
I think,
Yes.
can I just make a comment on that? The consultation document is intended to be high level. Throughout this document, we will be pushing people towards our website to look at the full version. So, and the final version of the LTP will have that A3. It'll have all of the key actions. All we've done here is we've taken the key actions off because they can be seen on the website. We're trying to keep this nice and short and concise.
Okay.
So for
No, on the website we will have that and all of the supporting information. So our strategic direction in its full form will be on the website, so you can look at it. This is just the abridged version. We no longer have to create a draft long-term plan. In fact, we're not allowed to. So what we will be doing is, if you can picture our website, we'll have the consultation document, you can click on that, or you can go to all of our supporting information and it'll list every single piece. So there'll be capital works program, our activities, our strategic direction, our financial statements, our, all of that stuff. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Its content is not necessarily spelt out to us. It simply has to tell the story of what the key, most significant considerations of the LTP are, to encourage feedback from the community. So, there's no piece of legislation that says that we have to have one of these and one of these and one of these in here. The only stipulation is that we must have our significant issues or decisions, and we must provide the impacts of rates, debt, and a few other bits and pieces, and that's what will be in here. The rest of it is up to us, and of course Audit will make a comment on whether they think it all adds up to being what they call the right debate. If that makes sense.
The only thing that I wanted to add is so we are still working on the design. We like the A3 as well, and we think the A3 could work on a double page spread. So we're still working on that. Just for today, we wanted you to be able to recognise the weave, the three outcomes. So it's still very much, we like the look of the A3, and so it would be good to see the A3 slightly modified to encapsulate the strategy. So we're working on that.
Can I just note that, and I don't want to be an editor, so I won't be, but a couple of larger points about who's the audience. So the audience, this document is to talk to the audience, right? So it's the you. So we're talking to you. I'm talking to you. So we use our place as opposed to your place, and I notice it because it kind of it's you know how sometimes it just kind of hits you. Quite often when we're talking around mana whenua issues, it isn't intended, but it becomes a them and an us. Like, so in this situation, for instance, mana whenua have a seat at our governance table. I've always been really uncomfortable about our because it means it's not theirs. Ours, the opposite of our is something other than that, and it's not about that. It's an inclusive thing. Do you know what I mean? I hope I'm not being too pedantic about that, but it's just something that kind of I sense it every time I hear it. So it's about that inclusiveness thing and about who the audience is. So the audience is, we're talking to you. This is your place. You know what I mean? Because it's a council document. So we go, it's ours. Yeah. Well, it's ours too. Yeah. It's your place. You tell, because we want feedback from you about your place. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's for what it's worth.
Thank you.
Yeah, look, and I'll just build on that a little bit slightly, because the amount of times I've corrected people and said, it's your council doing this, it's your council doing that. I said, excuse me, guy, it's our council. You're, just like, the only difference between you and me is I put my hand up, that's all. Obviously, it turns me into a real nasty person, apparently, but that's the only difference. It's not funny. So having that our, they're part of this, and if they're not happy with it, they can put their hand up and they can take our place.
Yeah, thank you. That's fantastic feedback.
Well, I guess there are some places where we're talking about the council. Like you don't want to say your financial strategy. It's ours, right?
It just becomes about.
Okay.
So financial strategy, it's the same thing we were talking about, the
Like it.
natural environment, our natural environment, as opposed to your natural environment. It's the natural environment, right? And I know what it was intended to be inclusive, right? sometimes a language that's intended to be inclusive actually has looked to be. And so I just, again, I don't represent the code, but that's just how it strikes me. So it strikes me that way, maybe it strikes another people.
Thank you. Okay, so moving over the page to page 8 and 9. It's so the consultation document must have a financial strategy, and no, the famous triangle is not on the cover page. But again, we're hearing so this will be written in layman terms. It won't have complicated accounting jargon. It obviously will have the triangle because that's the representation of the financial strategy. If we move over, it will have. It needs to give an overview of what the council's proposed financial strategy for you is, and we will also include that request to show the breakdown by activity, the funding splits, and the cost per activity, but. So yeah, it is a bit of a meaty section of the consultation document, but it's a legislative requirement that we have. It can't be the whole financial strategy; it must just be the key parts. So we'll work through that.
Can I interrupt there?
Yep.
Any reason why that's at the front? Does it have to be?
No.
No, and in fact, we may very well move things around for really good reasons, for readability purposes. We could put the key issues up the front.
I would put them up front
It's
because
yeah,
if you've got this massive page right there,
yeah,
you don't want to get them lost in the first few pages of going, where's the big issue?
Yeah.
The other problem I would
here's a
put on
graph,
this
I give up.
page is
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
the page number it is on
Yep.
on that
Yep.
page.
Yep.
And the other thought about it was link the colour that's here to the colour that's on the issue.
Yep. Great.
And put the issues closer to where that we list that would be mine. Lose the financial strategy towards the back. Sorry, Mark.
Happy
Just
to,
a thought.
happy to do that. And when we looked at the layout, well, so the rationale behind this layout, and we're happy to change that, but we just thought that the reader needed to understand the financial challenges that the district is facing, plus the infrastructure challenges that the district is facing. So know up front what the issues are, then explain the financial position, then explain the infrastructure position, and then hit the issue so they can make an informed decision. So that was the thinking behind the structure, as
Sure.
opposed to these are the issues, tell us what you think, and oh, by the way, we've got really big financial constraints
Yeah,
and,
get
and
that.
huge infrastructure challenges. So that was the thinking behind the flow.
We could do some dialogue though to create that connection.
It was
that
just
flow.
your intro page sort of tags some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And you can put a comment that just says, if you want more detail about the challenges, look from page da 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 da. It's almost like an executive summary at the front. Just says, I don't know. Just
Yeah, the Haere Mai is very much the challenges, and the intention behind that is what decisions that the tough decisions that you've made to get the rates down to where we're sitting. So, and the challenges, the economic challenges, the social challenges of the district. So that's kind of what that's the placeholder for what the Haere Mai actually is.
my opinion, if I'm wanting someone to engage with this, I want to present them with the thing they're engaging with as soon as I can.
Yeah.
Where are mana whenua in these opening pages?
Not there yet.
They will be there though.
I have a meeting tomorrow.
Great.
A regular meeting we have about these things.
Yeah, so, right, will that be kind of next to the council page? Like up the front? Because
Are
we,
you envisaging a Haere Mai from council
and then the next page,
and a mihi from mana whenua? Yeah, or should we blend it?
I don't know, have a chat with Hara. But definitely up the front, because we're operating under, partnership model.
Yeah.
We're- Mahi kotahi and all that.
Thank you. Yeah, there's real benefit showing you something now to get your thoughts. Okay, so page 12, we've just got this as the impact of government reforms program. There is an impact, obviously, so it's a little bit more strategic, 12 and 13. Then page 14 and 15 is the rating system review. So this is where we would go into the narrative, the really strong narrative of what it is we're proposing to change of the rating system and why. Yeah, so that obviously needs some careful wording. I'm trying to get you to the options pages because that's where we really want your feedback. So the infrastructure strategy, so there must be an infrastructure strategy taken on board. You want to bring the issues forward and have reference back to the strategies in the back. And we've still got to develop the strategy. So I really wanted to talk to you about page 18 and 19 because this is the crux of the consultation document. This is what we're asking the community for their feedback on, and this is how we're proposing to lay it out. So
Looks like Remo,
it does a bit, doesn't it? Yep.
which is appropriate because it is a bit of a disaster.
Oh, the colour scheme, you mean?
Yeah, the colour scheme. Yeah.
I must admit, I don't really like it.
Yeah. We can change the color. We can change the colour
I
scheme.
guess we're used to looking at Remo documents, so maybe it's more obvious to us.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit like an animal seeing black and yellow. You just go disaster.
Yeah.
Hey. Hang on, you turn your microphone on because Glenn might be still there.
Yeah. So people who are colourblind, just to allow for them as well.
Yeah, good point.
Seeing I have a son who's colourblind.
That was noted actually
always
through
just
the
run
last
up on
consultation
one
process,
mic.
wasn't it? We had to meet a great power. Someone talked to the trouble of certain colours older people have trouble with as well.
Oh, really?
That was some feedback. It might be worthwhile just touching base with them on that.
Yeah.
Maybe, but that was a
Okay.
comment that did come
Yeah,
back. I
I
vaguely remember
remember
it, but I
that,
can't
yeah.
remember it exactly
Yeah.
though.
Very good point. Okay.
Well, the font, for people who are dyslexic, there's probably fonts and they can read better than others as well. Just trying to make it as
There's
accessible to
a
as many
best practice
people.
of what they call accessibility in these documents that our team in comms and engagement actually work to those practices. So they're highly likely to be already included in here in our design guidelines, but I will certainly take that offline and
Okay.
check it.
Thank you.
I note the James Cameron influence of Avatar with the people are all blue. So that's kind of interesting. That was interesting.
Shall we say, tell us what you think any time before 5th of April rather than by 5th of April to avoid, to encourage people to just start.
Yes.
And it's kind of more welcoming rather than giving people a deadline.
Yep. Nice. So just on page just on page 19, just wanted you to see it in.
Hang on, we're up to page 19, folks.
I just wanted you to see how it would be. So what we've said is, as we've got 3 issues we're consulting on, the council must have a preferred option. So this particular one is an example. So I think there's actually only 2 options on the debt one anyway. You're either rate funded or you're debt funded. But you must set out the options of the issue. So this is the issue. So the left-hand side of the page explains what the issue is in simple terms, and then there's options to deal with that issue. So you've got to indicate your preferred option. You have to show what is the impact of rates of that option, what is the impact of debt on that option, what is the impact of levels of service of that option, and then the other options, you have to explain what the other option is, what is the impact on rates, what is the impact on debt, what is the impact on levels of service. So this is hopefully this page is helpful, where you can see how we would set it out, and hopefully it will be nice and easy for the reader to understand.
I've got a question.
So,
Yep.
If I can just point you to where it says lorem ipsum dollar sit amit. Nah. I think. I think.
Could you actually read it? Go.
I'm not dyslexic.
Okay.
When we say big issues, I don't think people are going to think that Ngā Manu is a big issue in their world right now because of the cost of living crisis. So maybe we should put that investment in, not particularly name that in the document later, but it's more investment in district-wide.
Oh, visitor economy.
Yeah, district-wide or district visitor attractions, because I think that's going to be bad for Ngā Manu, but also for us, because people are going to go, well, for God's sake, you're doing 17% and you want to invest, I don't know. To me, we're going big issues. For a lot of people, the big issue is affording their rates.
Yeah. Good point.
I don't know. I would look at that before knowing what it's for and think, what the hell, this council's gone crazy.
I still think you want to consult on that, but the narrative, it's an issue, but it's not a big issue. Yeah.
Well, we're looking at being a cornerstone investor, aren't we? With regards to that, and from an economic development perspective, we're looking at investing or partnering with potential to bring people in to expand economic growth, that sort of stuff. I guess we're asking people, are you happy with us investing in that way, rather than that specific sort of thing? Because I agree, if you've got a yes or no on Ngā Manu, and it's got a price tag attached to it, and you've got to look at a price increase, what are you going to do? You're going to put a line through it. Yet what we're trying to do is we're looking at maybe a bit of a different approach, is just trying to encourage business growth in the area. We're trying to encourage. Now, that means we don't fund everything, but certainly something that's what we consider, I guess, a draw card to the area, or a significant draw card to the area. That will increase as a draw card to the area if it's invested in. Emphasising the point, we're not fully investing in this. This allows them to then go get like funding. Actually, we're only investing a third of the funding requirement here, and this enables them to go and get that extra funding, so that we can access, if you like, additional funds for the growth of our district, as such, instead of that narrative of yes/no sort of scenario. Not saying that that's not actually written down there, but I just couldn't quite understand it.
Chris has something to say.
Yeah, I think the comments you're making, Marlon, make complete sense, and I wonder if the trick here is that as we develop up, I'm going to say, the story that goes with each issue that we're putting on the table, that kind of context would be around it, and so you don't have that today. So what's on the table today is more the thing that we were talking about, saying, hey, what do you think of it? So when you see the fuller package, we'd be able to say what you just said there so eloquently, as this is just one small part of a bigger thing we're doing, and this is the bit that we want to ask you about, because it does have an impact, and you might say yes or no, and it doesn't mean that we aren't doing other things.
Yeah, I think, though, it needs to be clear to people who are skimming through. We can't rely on the descriptions to, give people the context necessarily. See, if you say big issue Ngā Manu, and then instead of saying lorem ipsum dollar sit amit, you say we are going to invest in this to attract extra, that won't make any difference. They've just seen big issue Ngā Manu. Yeah.
So we need to work on the narrative to not overplay something. That's what you're saying. Soften the language. Ngā Manu is not the biggest issue that we have, but it's something we want to consult on. We want the views, and we've been provided some direction there.
So the other two are big issues, aren't they? There's the water and there's the housing. They're big.
Yes.
So I think we've got the two big issues, and then we've got kind of a separate thing, which
I think they could be described as really important things that we want to talk to you about. you know, rather than calling them the big issues. I mean, that's kind of standardised LTP kind of lingo, talking about key issues, you know. It's on our to-do list to establish the key issues,
Yeah.
but they're not necessarily issues. Sometimes they're just proposals that council wishes to put in front of the community.
Yeah, issues is a
this.
bit like things, isn't
Yes,
it?
yeah.
It's a bit of a kind of non-word.
Yeah, so there's a bit of, I think there's
Hang on, Darren.
a bit around wording. We've got these 3 topics in front of you today because the workshops that we've been working on up to today, this is the clear steer that you've given us.
Nobody's disagreeing with them.
Yeah. So, but you're right. It's around how we develop the narrative, and is it big issue or is it something that is more pertinent to what we want to talk to you about, specifically investment in Ngāmanu? Because you're right, the other 2 are big.
And maybe the thought bubbles, the size of the thought bubbles could reflect the importance of the proposal. It's an
It's
additional,
not a necessary
well, yeah, it's an additional
needed.
project.
I don't think it'll be across.
Thank you.
So, hang on, we've got a few more lights on. I think we've given a little bit of a steer around our thinking around that. I don't think we need to be able to redesign it ourselves. My only other thought was, should our preferred option be a little more highlighted rather than looking the same as the other 2?
Yes, absolutely.
Because if you see option 1, preferred option, particularly around the housing, and then you see option 3, divest the assets, which we're actually not even, I don't know why we're even putting it in there, because we're not going to do that.
But,
just decided
but that is
today
a
that we're
reasonable,
not.
practicable option though,
Yeah.
you know, because people will ask, you know, well, haven't you thought about just divesting them? So I guess we have
But
to
I
cover
think-
those off.
Yeah, we
but-
just got to be clear that that's not, rather than just the words preferred option, it has to look like the
Yes,
preferred
yeah,
option.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
we don't have to have 3 options per consultation topic. You know, the cleaner the better. If it's just a yes or a no, it's much better.
So hang on, Jocelyn.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're all good, Nigel?
Yeah, just I think Shelley's right that for a lot of people, the biggest single issue will be rates. It's also worth noting that I'm not quite sure of the numbers, but of the people who live here, half or more than that aren't ratepayers, residents. Everyone's a ratepayer, but I mean they don't get a bill with their name on it. It says pay now or we'll sell your children. So I just wonder if, and I'm assuming at the head of this thing, there's going to be some kind of plain speak explainer. This is an extraordinary time. Everybody probably says it's an extraordinary time, but this is an extraordinary time. This is probably the first time that this council, in my living memory, is going to be asking people to stump up with something between 12 and 20% in terms of rate increase. So this is new, uncharted territory that we're in. And I wonder if and all councils are going to go through the same thing. So I wonder if some sort of plain speak explainer at the time saying, we are in, these are extraordinary times. You know, this is what is happening
Across the
right across
country.
the board. So when we're talking, but you know, life carries on and we have to keep doing stuff, right? So that's where the Ngā Manus, etc., we aren't just going to hunker down and go into like a siege mentality. We just have to keep going, but this is the backdrop to it.
Thank you. So
Happy to write it for you if you like.
we're absolutely on the same page. Our thinking is you've really got to set the context, and so that will be the 2 places for the context were actually in the haere mai, because we heard through the workshops that you really did want to emphasise the tough decisions that you've had to make, and so the context does have to be right up front in the consultation document, and then the second placeholder for that, our thinking in this format was it was in the financial strategy, which is why we wanted to take that flow. But we'll rethink that. We'll take the point and just
don't have
rethink
to
the flow.
change it.
Can I if
With the funding thing, is it worth pointing out somewhere in the document that the whole of the sector is working on new models and funding for local government? Because we're aware that it doesn't work. Under local government, under central government reforms, can we include future for local government in there as well?
Future by,
Future by local government, sorry.
can I, two things.
Yeah. Hang on.
It's going to be seen as being like anti-this government. I think there has to be a note of caution about how we address that, because I mean, if I was writing it, you can only imagine what it would say, right? But I'm not writing it. This is coming from council, and it's almost like you've got to be politically neutral
Yeah.
to whatever central government's doing, you know what I mean? Because the first thing you do, if you don't do that, is you alienate yourself from a huge portion of your market. That's why you've got Fox News and CNN, and people don't look at the same thing. So, yeah, I would be as neutral as possible about that, but at the same time, Janet, your point's, I think, well taken, that this is an extraordinary time for the sector, and we're all responding, you know, we're all running as fast as we can on the wheel.
Yeah, and we're trying to address it as a sector too. You know, not just throwing up our hands and hiking up the rates. We are working on a long-term solution. Lawrence?
I've just got 2 points. The first one's just a question. Have we spoken to Ngā Manu about them being happy to be in this document?
Yes, that conversation's ongoing. We have an internal meeting tomorrow to determine how they will help us to put this narrative together and be comfortable about it. So,
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear
Yep.
that. The second one is on page 11, I think it is, where we have our limits. And rates increases, lower limit, preferred limit, upper limit, and we're projecting a 17. Do we need to relook at those limits?
yeah, so
Because it can't be a limit if we're going to
yeah.
blow it out of the water by double
Yeah.
potentially.
yeah, so yes, so the new financial strategy is still being drafted up. We will be sending that out to you in the new year for the 20th. This was just
Yeah.
slapping it in there. But
I'm
you,
just
look,
asking
you're right.
them.
You're right. We do need to think very carefully of those limits. And look, the reality is, if you go over your limits, it doesn't qualify your annual plan at all. So we would need, whatever the limits are that council decides to adopt, if we're above that, we need the narrative. We need to explain why.
And you also trigger significance.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Cool. Thank you. That's my.
Just while we're talking about financial strategy, if we made the decision to say we get 69% of people coming back saying they want us to debt fund depreciation
Yep.
or debt fund future proofing assets, whatever, however you want to put it, and we decide that we agree with that, and we would like to have 12% rates rise and debt fund our depreciation. You mentioned that we would need a different financial strategy. How would that work? Would we be behind schedule to create such a thing? And wouldn't we need to consult on it? And how would that work?
Yeah, good question.
Otherwise, we're putting up a straw man if we're not planning to. And you shouldn't put
Yeah.
up straw men.
Yeah, so we're designing the financial strategy to be able to accommodate if the community did say, yes, please reduce rates and fund the $5 million. So we're designing the financial strategy to be able to cope with that. So we have to show the debt profile. What we didn't really get a chance to talk about the finance update a couple of sessions ago, but the financial strategy that's been drafted for you is revisiting the limits, but it's also revisiting a mechanism to pay debt down faster, to create the headroom. So the headroom would be for recovery. The headroom would be for these unforeseen shocks. The headroom would be to accommodate, because if we have the three waters for the next 3 years and we continue to revalue our assets, we're going to have a $5 million jump or more in year 2, in year 3. So we're drafting a financial strategy for you that creates debt headroom that would be able to accommodate the decision by the community if they say debt funded for the next 3 years. So our financial strategy, as we've talked before, is that we need to slow down in the first couple of years, and then when we're in a better financial position, then you can speed up. So that's the general gist of the financial strategy anyway.
So you're saying that the financial strategy would work whether we went for the 17% or the 12%?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It would just mean it would work better if we land at 17% because we're taking on less debt.
I wondered also, just in terms of transparency, I mean, you won't need to be a genius to figure it out, but I mean, I've thrown the number around a bit, $180,000 a week that we pay in interest to a foreign-owned bank. If you want people to understand how debt works, like borrowing for depreciation as opposed to rate funding, just mention that. I think people will go, wow, because you're a ratepayer and you've got the choice, an extra 5% on the rates or just increase the debt. And so one seems like an immediate cost to you, and another one seems like an immediate cost to everybody else. And so that's the one that people choose. And so explaining what that means in plain speak, I think.
What about a cartoon of a foreign-looking stick figure running away with bags of money?
I don't have to be that foreign looking. They look like us. The average Australian banker looks like me.
Stubbies in general.
They actually look like our
New Zealand as
council,
well,
really.
isn't it?
It's what the Australian banking industry looks like. So,
Look, a hat with corks.
I think
Yeah.
Australian bankers.
I
Bankers conference.
Sorry.
I think
Okay, we're
I
getting
think,
there. We're getting there.
Councillor, where we're at with the financial strategy is yes. I think it's becoming more well known that our annual interest charge is about $200,000 a week, which is why the financial strategy needs a mechanism to actually reduce debt. So that'll be in the financial strategy. We've got to create headroom. We have to prepare for the community saying, please don't reduce our rates by taking on more debt, but also please make sure that debt's reduced as quickly as possible. And we will go away and panel beat language that is relative to people. Yeah, 10 million a year doesn't mean anything, but 200,000 a week, which is the reality, that means a lot more. Yeah.
And it's partly about owning it.
Yep.
Just owning that financial reality. And the public, I think, it's when the public feel like they've discovered something about council. Oh my God, $200,000 a week, But we've told them, and look, there's a reason for that. The infrastructure development that we've had, the rising, blah, blah, blah. There are valid reasons for it. It's not like Janet spent it all on wine in her office.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Sorry, cancel it. Yeah, so there are valid.
Disclaimer, I did not spend money on
Yeah,
wine
so there
in
are
my
valid
office.
reasons for the debt position council finds itself in, and I think I don't think I've ever seen a report that explains it and on a weekly basis what the debt repayment is, and I think if people understood that, I think that would put some real context around decisions that they would or feedback that they would give us. Yeah.
Okay. Look, just mindful. We've got to just get through this consultation document, and then we've got one last slide on what's coming up in 2024 that Cheryl would like to take you through. I wanted to fast forward you to, I think it's page 23. No, it's not. It's page 20. I wanted to take you to page 24, 25. So we've got our, so you've got the 3 topics. We'll just call them topics for now. You're consulting on the topics. And then, of course, there's some other things that we're changing. So, for example, we've got new fees and charges that we've talked about today coming through. We've got some changes to the development contributions policy. We've got some changes to the significance engagement, a little bit of change to this one says ratings policy, but it's already been covered in. There may be some changes to the revenue and financing policy. So you've got your 3 big ones up front, and then we're also saying to the community, look, we're also making some changes to our policies. We'll outline what those changes are and to refer them to our website to read the whole policy chapter and verse. So this is standard practice. We don't feel that the development contributions policy, for example, needs to be one of our big consultation topics. It is just we review the DC policy and all our policies every 3 years, and we make adjustments where we need to. So that's what we're doing. But we need to still tell our ratepayers that we're doing it. We then must have an auditor's report. The consultation document is audited. And then we've got an insert in there how people can talk to us, and if they want more information, where to go to. So that's pretty much, that's where we're at. We've done a lot of work, and we've got a lot of feedback from you today, which has been really helpful. So, and there's still a lot of panel vetting to be done.
Mark, just
I think it's
on the
looking great.
auditor's, sorry,
Looking
just
really
on the
good.
auditor's report, my understanding is that the auditor's report is going to be a reasonably positive report. I would, if it was me, I would lead with that. And there's a, quite often the auditor's report goes at the end, right? And people have given it up by then. One of the reasons for having an auditor's report up front early is because it's a third party commenting on the state of play, as opposed to us.
Yeah, so Councillor, totally understand what you're saying. So it's actually an opinion. So it's basically just an auditor's opinion. It's legalised language, and all it says is it's a true and fair view of, or they basically just say what's in the consultation document is correct. It's not actually a report saying the consultation document is amazing. It is just saying that it is factually correct.
It's not lies.
I've done a fair few of these, and I can tell you that we've tried all different ways of doing that, and most people have said that the auditor's report at the beginning leaves them wanting to just slip their wrists and put it down.
You could always just put it in Latin.
Yes, yeah, we could put it in Latin. Yes, we could. Yeah.
Oh, maybe at the end, but with a big tick on it. Like, he gave us a tick.
Can I just ask a question?
Not a
A
tick that
straw
goes
poll.
up your leg, like a tick like
The photo of the councillors, of you lovely people, in the Haere Mai section, we took we took an existing photo and just took the background out to silhouette it and make it look pretty cool. If you all want to, we can take a new photo. I was intending on saying that we could probably do with a fresh one. We can just, take it between now and when we adopt this and just slide it in at the last minute. So you can all arrange a day to have a good hair day and come back with your summer suntans. And
I like it. We all look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, apart from Shelley and Lawrence.
I've never seen myself laugh so much in my life. Oh well.
Jocelyn looks really happy.
Yeah, well, as I said, I've never seen myself smile so much. I must have been on something that day.
We were having a happy day that day. I think it comes across. Well, hang on a minute, because it's on a silhouette, can't we just replace the people who don't like it? Like, you could
Then you've got to go through another then you've got to go through another process.
just put a new Shelley in.
Easily chopped
Put a
out.
new Shelley in and a new. I'm not joking. Just cut and paste. I could do it in Photoshop. It would still be them.
Oh,
No,
yes.
no, don't be, no, I'm serious. I mean, it looks like we've all been cut and pasted and put in there anyway because of the silhouette of it. Anyway,
Okay.
that's not really important. It's not a big issue.
Hey,
It's not even.
okay. All right.
Moot point.
We.
This is your council, but it isn't a representation of what a council meeting looks like. So when our three mana whenua partners are at the table, then that's what your council looks like if you come into the room. So whether you want to
What
consider
about our
that,
community board chairs?
well, gee, that was quick.
Maybe we'll try and do a new photo with the three representatives
Yeah.
and a committee board chair.
That means everybody has to come to the first council meeting next year.
To be honest, I think of Kim as much a councillor as anybody else in the room.
Yeah.
Massive importance to every meeting that we have. So
Okay. We'll
Well,
take
we'll
that
have
action.
we'll have a think about an approach to that. Yeah.
let's share the love, we'll spread the blame.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on from that.
Thank,
Mark?
does Jocelyn have a?
Oh, Jocelyn. Sorry.
Yeah, so just getting back to the topic in hand here, so in terms of the more information, so that will lead back to the whole, to the complete long-term plan with all those millions of lines of data,
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
And the other thing is too, that having gone through this process before, could it be double checked that it's actually can be searched on? Both this document and all the other ones, because at times that they haven't been.
Yes, yep. I've already talked about that.
Okay.
It's on my list. Totally.
Yeah, and so then the new, then there's the several other policies which will be somewhere in the back there as well. Our,
Yep.
can't remember the names of the ones, several other policies.
Yep. They'll all be clearly linked.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Good question. No.
I have to admit, I've got my wrong glasses on. I've got my glasses for looking at my laptop, not the screen. So, oh, here we go. And my laptop went dead. So. Okay. So, I just thought I'd give you a little reminder that your decision making doesn't finish with going on your Christmas holidays, obviously. What's going to happen next year is Jing and myself and Mark are going to take a few days off and then round up the troops, and we're going to continue to write this consultation document. And then that will go to audit in the new year. They come in mid-January and finish sort of mid-February or pretty much just before you adopt the consultation document. It always takes a bit longer than we think it will. However, we are planning on, so we've got scheduled with you a briefing on the 20th of February, and our plan is on around about the 9th of February, we will send you a packet of all of that supporting information and the consultation document, so you will have plenty of time to read it. And so the supporting information, we're talking about all of the draft policies, all of the strategies, all of the financial statements, the capital works program, the statement of service provision, you know, all of the performance measures, all of those fantastic bits of information that I'm sure you'll be interested in reading poolside. And then we will have a session with you on the 20th of February, which is like 9 days before you adopt that consultation document. So there will be a little bit of room there to make some editorial changes, bearing in mind that the financials will have all been checked and balanced and reconciled by audit, so we won't be able to make any large-scale financial changes, like for instance taking out a key consultation topic. That would completely destroy me. And so on the 29th of February, you will adopt the consultation document and all of the supporting information, but there'll be no surprises on that day because you'll have already seen it all. And then we get set up for community engagement. We are running that for like 5 weeks. We finish after Easter, the Friday after Easter, and then we'll have a couple of days of hearings. So in preparation for the hearings, we'll send you a submission set for you to read or look through, and a schedule of who's going to be speaking to their submissions and exactly where in your submission set you can find their submission. And then we will, after all of that's over, we will go off and analyse all of the submissions and come to you to a briefing or a workshop, whichever you prefer, to review our analysis of the submissions. As those submissions are coming through, I'll be watching to see what people are saying, what topics are floating to the surface. We'll be using, keywords, etc., to really understand what the preferences of the community are. And then we'll go into the deliberations, and this is where you make your final decisions. Darren and I have done this a lot, haven't we, Darren? Where councillors can choose to make decisions, final tweaky kind of decisions, not necessarily off the back of submissions, but then again, you may want to. It's a option to put motions on the table if you would like to. And then we go to, after deliberations, again, I then go and polish up the LTP itself, and we take that into a 2-week brief blast through audit, where audit just double check that the decisions that you made in deliberations are accurately reflected in the financials and the content of the LTP. And then we will, on the 27th of June, we will adopt the final LTP and set rates for the 24-25 financial year. So it's a big schedule next year. Most of it is statutory, i.e. we have to do it, and it just takes as long as it takes. On the 20th of February, one of the things I will table with you is the engagement plan. But at this point, we are looking at quite a pared back engagement. We don't want to have lots and lots of events. There's already been a lot going on. I know that there's a heck of a lot of consultation going on at the moment, and I don't think that's slowing down next year. So we'll put that on the table, and if there's any additional stuff that you want us to do, we'll certainly incorporate. And that's
Right.
me.
Nigel?
Yeah, Cheryl, so with the adoption of final LTP, on the assumption that we decide to rate fund depreciation, and we're looking at that for, out years to come, I'm not sure if this council does, I apologise for not knowing this, but is an indicative rate for years 2, 3
Yes.
indicated?
Yes, we have to disclose that.
Yeah, so we would presumably, if we decide to rate fund depreciation, that would be the analytical tool that's used in the out years, and if we decided to debt fund it, then you guys toss a coin in the back to decide whether or not you want to think about it for the year after, or
we feed it right through the financial
Feed-
strategy,
you would
all
still-
10 years of the financial strategy.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to an annual plan year, as you all know, the LTP is year 1 is the annual plan, and it's year 2 and 3 that we restrike. That's, you can vary those decisions. That's the
okay.
purpose of an annual plan.
Cool. Gee, that's going to be fun.
Sophie?
I just really wanted to say that this is great. I just think
Yeah.
it's, yeah, I mean,
Very engaging.
yeah, the consultation documents that we've had over the last training were also awesome, but I also feel like this is a lift on that, and that it's even simpler. It's way more, to me anyway, kind of graphically and aesthetically appealing. So yeah, I just wanted to say a massive thanks, and I know that it'll
Thank
be
you.
a hard slog over the what should be a Christmas break. So just a massive mihi to you for the work that you're doing, because
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's really great.
Thank you.
Martin?
Yeah, sorry to come down with a bit of a negative, but I think something just to bear in mind and around the narratives as well is when we were sitting here 3 years ago, we were talking about coming into this long-term plan with a small rate increase. That's what we promised our ratepayers, and we've done the exact opposite. So I just do think that needs to be considered a little bit as well, or we need to perhaps give some narrative that I'm not saying talk to that, I don't want to highlight it as such, but that the realities that we face are very different. There's been a heck of a lot of change in the last 3 years that no one predicted at all. But we did put that down in writing, and that sort of stuff there as well. So I dare say people will be fairly sceptical with regards to if we're looking at, saying, oh, we're doing a large one now and it's going to taper off sort of scenario. Our track record doesn't really show that. Again, I think the narrative needs to be around the local government with regards to, again, keeping the narrative positive, but around that this is a blunt, as you often say, Mark, this is a blunt instrument. It's not fit for purpose. And we really are looking forward to government engaging with local government with regards to solutions for the situation in the future, because this is just not sustainable as such. No disrespect to council officers at all. We're all between a rock and a hard place on this and that sort of thing there as well. But I think it is important that that we're not pushing it back onto government per se, but they do need to come to the party here. We just can't keep going on like this, otherwise things are going to spiral. Other than that, yeah, fantastic bit of work. But yeah, that's the reality is that we're all going to take a hiding on this one. But perhaps something else, and Mark, you alluded to this recently, is that our rates increase is potentially one of the lower ones in the country, and I think, and that is the case. Then I do think that needs to be part of the narrative as well, that we have been able to keep things within reason, and it's been due to our investment in our Three Waters or other things in the past.
Jim's got them all. She's going to read them out to him.
Maybe just the region. Yeah.
Some of them are single figure, did you say?
It was 125%, it was 131%. That was Buller. Buller was 31.
Buller was 31.
Hamilton 25. I'm trying to find the email. Hutt is 15.9.
Look,
Actually, also worth noting, yesterday the hearing that was held here for the future development strategy that involved the 10 councils and six iwi, there was a hugely broad consensus around the push to get central government to come to the party for local government. Like, however bad we are hurting, there are councils out there that are hurting more than us. So this is, we're not in a unique position. We're all in the same boat, and yeah, everybody was feeling it for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Look, I just wanted to clarify. So one of the key messages that I keep saying is that this council's average rates increase must reflect its community's ability to pay. And so whilst there may be some councils in the country that have got a single-digit rates increase or a much higher, there will be drivers behind that that'll be different to ours. So we've worked really hard, and we've worked through our cost increases and our drivers. And at one point we were recommending a 12% average rates increase, because we had a very viable option. Three Waters Reform provided us with a short-term option to reduce it. In the passage of time, that option is not really that viable, so it's pushed us to 17%. But we've done the affordability study, we've talked about that, but it is this community's ability to pay our rates that is more important than what other councils are charging. Where we sit relative to everyone else is important, But I probably, 17% is this community's ability to pay.
I
Has
think it's
anybody
pretty
worked out
important in
what the
terms of the
average
comms.
rates increase across the country and across the region is?
No, I don't have the average. And it was interesting because through the local government Taitora, there was a distribution list around trying to collect the information around a rates increase for certain councils. So far I've got is Bulla is 31.8, and next is Hamilton 25.5. Wellington is around 15 to 20%. Hutt City is 15.9%. Tauranga is 13.10, and Thames Coromandel is 14%. The lower one is South Waikato is 8%, and Auckland is 7.5%. But Auckland 7.5, they're selling their assets to achieve that.
I also wonder how many of those have the depreciation discussion, whether or not they've had that yet, and whether or not they're debt funding depreciation, or they've decided that they'll just Bulla probably have.
Yeah, I can't tell you whether debt fund or rates fund of their depreciation. There certainly has been a lot of discussion around our CFO forum from the Wellington Region Council. Everybody is facing exact the same issue with us as the depreciation interest. And Wellington Water, which now we know the reform is there's a changing, and they have been talking about the operating cost from different councils and also the valuation of their assets. So certainly the challenge is facing most of the councils within the Wellington region, as I know.
I mean, I take Mark's point, but the thing I would mention, Mark, is from a media point of view, from a comms point of view, I think it's incredibly important to put the message out there that this is happening everywhere. Because what will happen is that we all know there are people out there just waiting to say, this council's out of control, they've bloody lost the plot and they spend like crazy people. You can't apply that argument to every council in the country. And if so I think it's really important that the narrative is there. I think it's really important that we put some pressure on Sam Broughton from LGNZ to be, is Sam Broughton? Yeah. To be front-footing it a bit about just getting this narrative out there that this is happening all around the country. Because, we shouldn't have to be defensive about responsible spending, and so, yeah, I think that's important to get, so that we control the narrative.
Yeah, so
Otherwise
I think
we'll be defensive.
LGNZ is doing that. Tim Cadogan was talking about it on Radio New Zealand the other day. He's on National Council, so I wonder if he's the spokesperson around this rates issue. We're done. Oh, I thought we were going to run late today. You can come upstairs a bit early if you want, but Julie just needs another 5 or 10 minutes to get ready, and then you can come up whenever you feel like it.